What's up, guys? In this video I'm going to show you how to install the rolling release of LunarVim. So the first thing you're going to want to do is head over to lunarvim.org. Alright, and when you get over here you should see this page here, introduction and all. What you're going to want to do is click on install, and you should see some options for installing the stable branch, a few other things. We'll go over uninstallation at the end. But for this video we're going to want to install the rolling branch, and the reason for that is because right now during development I think you'll see a lot more stability in the rolling branch and bug fixes and stuff like that before we get a solid 1.0 out. So what you're going to do is just copy and paste this command into your terminal, press enter, and you'll be greeted with this here. So it's going to ask you if you want to install LunarVim's Node.js dependencies. I already have them installed, so I'm going to say no. For that, I'm pretty sure it's just npm and treesitter CLI. That's going to be important for highlighting and stuff, and installing. A lot of LSP clients use npm to install, so you're likely going to want that. So I'm going to say no because I already have it. LunarVim also depends on PyNVim. Pretty much everyone running Neovim is using PyNVim, so we just install that. I already have it, so I'm going to say no. And the last thing is going to be some Rust dependencies, and the Rust dependencies will be for ripgrep and I'm pretty sure FD. So that's another thing. If you want to do fuzzy searching, if you want to do all that kind of stuff, LunarVim needs ripgrep and FD, and we'll install them for you if you say yes. Again, I already have them, so I'm going to say no. All right, and so after this is done and it just finished, you should have LVim installed. So what we're going to do now is, and let me make this nice and big so you can see, we're just going to do LVim. Okay, and what you should see down here is it installing a bunch of treesitter stuff, so a bunch of treesitter parsers for a bunch of languages. That's because we automatically give you the maintained languages for syntax highlighting and stuff. You can actually change that in your config if you don't want all these languages. They're not really going to hurt you, so I wouldn't be too worried about it. It's just whenever you show up to a language now, you're going to have syntax highlighting for it like already for like 62 different languages. All right, so basically we're here. This is the dashboard. So let's go over a few things here. I guess the first place we should get started is just let's test it out on a project, right? So what we're going to do is we're just going to go into my repos, and we're going to open up a simple Python project called to-do list, and we're going to open up main.py. All right, and you should see a bunch of errors here. So you can see that the diagnostics are working. We have errors here because it can't find these libraries. I'll show you how we can actually get it to find these in a second, or these modules. The next thing that you'll see is just another thing from Pyrite here. We'll talk about how to configure this in a second as well, so that you don't have to do such strict type checking for Python. This is just for Python, but this will apply to most other languages, like what we're going to be doing. You should also see down here in the right-hand corner that we're using Pyrite, and that's a language server, and that's what gives us all of this. And you'll see the diagnostics are coming from Pyrite here. I'll also show you how to turn off this here. And then what you can do, the virtual text, and what you can do is when you're on a line that has a red X here or a warning or something, you can just do GL, and you'll be able to just get it in a pop-up, so you don't have to have this kind of cluttering up your screen, right? Other things you'll notice, let's just go over some simple stuff, like if we start typing import, it's a keyword. It'll find things like, I don't know, like numpy is something, right? We can just do as MP or something like that. We'll do np dot, and then you can get all of the member variables, or member functions or whatever, right? So methods. So there you go. Other things that you'll notice is obviously the syntax highlighting. That's coming from treesitter. Let's see. I'm trying to think of other things. I'm sure I'm going to leave some stuff out in this video. One other thing I recommend you do too is you can press space E, and that's going to open you up a little file explorer here, so we can move between different files. So that's also available. Another thing would be if you do space, and I recommend you just press space, sit here a while, look through a few things, right? You'll see things like how to comment, right? So if you want to comment a bunch of stuff out really easily, you can just kind of go into visual mode, do space, do // and it'll comment all of that out for you. All right, so let's actually get rid of some of these errors here. So we're going to actually quit LunarVim like this, and we're going to do conda activate to do. So we're just going to have a virtual environment active for Python. If you don't know Python, don't worry. It's just to make the stuff go away. So in this virtual environment, I have all of the requirements installed. So you can see that that's all gone. You do still see these errors here, and I'll go over that in a second. The other thing that you'll notice is that we don't have anything like a formatter installed and things like that, but I'm also going to go over that in this video as well. All right, the other thing you'll notice too is just this document highlight, kind of highlighting different instances of this symbol, so that's also a nice thing too. All right, so what we're going to do now is I'm actually going to just open up LunarVim, and what you'll see is if you open it up here, we could do find file in this repository, and we can just open up main, and we'll be right back in that same file. Another thing is after you open up a project, you'll have the option to open up recent projects. So if we go down to recent projects, you'll click enter on that, and then we can just go over to to-do list, which was just the project that I was just in. You can see I have a bunch of other projects here as well, but that's just because I've been into a lot of projects. LunarVim will automatically find all of your project. As soon as you're in a project once, it'll add it to this list of projects that you have. So now I'm back in this project. Again, I'll type main, and here I am again. Let's see, what else? Recently used files, that's pretty self-explanatory. We can actually look for a word inside of the repository that we're in. So one was app, so we saw that. I guess that probably see that a lot, but if we do like fast API, that's only in like 3 different places, so we can go through those, press enter on one we like, and there we go. So like you could search for like to do or something like that might be helpful, or fix me for like words and stuff, right? Let's see what else. So I think the last thing that'll be interesting from this dashboard is that we'll click on or enter into your configuration. So now that we're in the configuration, we can change well, really everything, but we're going to kind of go through a few things that I think people will be interested in that'll answer a lot of kind of beginner questions, right? So let's go down to installing plugins. So what we can do is I have a little section here called additional plugins. What you can do is go under this, uncomment it, save, and we just installed 2 plugins. One's called trouble.nvim, and the other one is called tokyonight.nvim. One is a plugin, and the other one is a color scheme. So let's take a look at the color scheme. We'll press space, we'll press S for search, so you can see where's S here. S for search right here, and we can search through a lot of things, right? So if we do search, and then we do, let's see, color scheme, which is C, right? We'll press C, and now we can swap to the new color scheme that we just installed, which is Tokyo Night. At first, the status line won't follow, but I'll show you how to make that work. So we're already using Tokyo Night now. You can see, like, okay. What you can do up at the top here is lvim.colorscheme. Instead of one darker, which is the default, you can change this over to Tokyo Night and save. And now if we open up LunarVim, we're using Tokyo Night. So now we can go back into the configuration here, and we'll change a few other things. So that's just how to install plugins. We also have trouble, obviously, now. So if we do trouble toggle, we don't actually have anything, so we can get rid of that. But if we got rid of something like this, you'll see a bunch of diagnostics, right? Now if we do trouble toggle, you'll see these diagnostics, and we can just kind of move between them. So you can install any plugin that you want, whether they be Vim plugins, Neovim plugins, whatever in LunarVim, and you can just put them all right here very simply. We're actually using Packer, so anything you can pass Packer, you can pass to LunarVim. It works exactly the same. You'll just pass it as an object here or a table, and you don't even really need to know a lot of Lua. You can just kind of pass it like this. It'll just work, right? We can also do auto commands. I won't really go over that in this video, but you can, if you're interested, you can look into that. So let's talk about a few other things. Let's talk about, I guess what we'll talk about next, we'll just kind of work our way up here. And I'm only going to go over the important stuff. Let's talk about adding formatters and linters. And let's talk about what a linter is, what a language server is, and what a formatter is. So for Python, we're going to be enabling black, right? So you can pass a list here of formatters. So we could pass like iSort or whatever else, Yapif or something, if you're familiar with those. But we're going to pass black for our formatter, and then for our linters, we're going to pass Flake 8. And you'll see how that's going to work along with the language server, right? So let's quit out of this, and we're still in the to-do list directory here, so we can actually just LVim inside of here, but we can also just go to recent projects, to-do list, main.py. Okay. So now we're in here and we can see Pyrite's active. That's only because I already had Pyrite installed. Now, if you want to have Pyrite active, what you're going to want to do is just do lsp install, and you press tab and you can see all the different options that you have for languages here that will just automatically work like basically out of the box. A lot of them again are installed with npm, so that's why npm is kind of a requirement. And you don't have to install it, but you won't be able to install a lot of different language servers if you don't. So we'll just do for Python like that. All right, and that's it. And once you reopen this file, you'll also have Pyrite. Pyrite's the default language server for Python. It's what's giving us all of this diagnostics here, the completion, and all that good stuff. Next to Pyrite, what you'll notice now is black and Flake 8. Now this black is a formatter and Flake 8 is a linter. Linters are going to give you extra diagnostics, like Pyrite here. So you'll see Pyrite's complaining, Pyrite's complaining. Pyrite's complaining, but now Flake 8 is complaining down here. It says the line is too long. So that's all configurable. You can put like a Flake 8 RC or something, but this isn't really a Python video, right? So that's what a linter gives you. It gives you a little bit of extra, like, syntax checking and stuff like that, right? The other thing would be a formatter. So what we'll do, we have format on save, but before I show you format on save, we'll just do space L for language server or whatever, and then just do F, and that will format for you. The other thing will be if we put a big space here again, and we do save, it'll actually just format on save as well, and that's configurable. I'll show you that as well. Next thing, let's see, what should we show next? Pyrite here. What we can do is we can actually do n lsp config, and we can do Pyrite, right? You see that? So we'll press enter. So where it's going to put this is under home user.config LVim, which is where your config.lua lives, and it's going to go into LSP settings. Since it's not already there, we're going to say yes. And what you should see is you can just make like an object here. Also, for this to work really well, you're going to want to install JSON ls. So to do that, you're going to do lsp install JSON, just JSON like that, and you'll get JSON support. So what we can do now is you can see like these are all the options that we have available for our language server. So we can go through, and I'm not sure exactly which one it is. I kind of forgot. I think it's type checking mode. Yeah, so we're going to choose type checking mode. We're going to press enter, and instead of basic, which is what it is by default, we're actually just going to put off. Okay, we will save this like this, and then we'll just jump back over here. You can see that it's complaining about, that is not being active. Now what we'll do is we'll just, I think we have, for some reason it seemed to have not carry that on. Something changed. I'm not sure, but it doesn't matter. What you'll see now is that the type checking is gone. So we're not doing like basic type checking or strict type checking anymore. We're doing no type checking for Python. So that can be annoying for some people. It's just to show you how you can change things about Pyrite, right? Or about whatever your language server is using that as well. So you can go through there and change whatever options are available for your language server. Okay, so I think I showed black, I showed Flake 8, I showed you, and we'll still have Flake 8 down here. The other thing is you can do GL on this line, and then we can also get the diagnostic as well. So if this virtual text is like kind of annoying you, we can do space, semicolon, and it'll take you down, back to the dashboard here. We'll go back to configuration, and what we'll do is just a couple things that you can see. Like, what did I say? The virtual text, right? So I forget where, do we have that in here anywhere? No? All right, so I think it's under lvim.lsp.virtual virtual text, I think it is. It might be, Let's see, 1 second. So diagnostics, yeah, diagnostics, and you can see how I'm kind of getting through this. So like I forgot what it was. So it's lvim.lsp.diagnostics, and if we choose that, it'll show us the table. So we got virtual text, we got all these things, right? Signs, everything else. This is all configurable. So we'll do dot virtual text, and we'll just say equals false, like that. Okay? So now if we go back over here, you'll see the virtual text, but if we quit, we open it back up, and we go down here, there's no more virtual text over here, right? But you can still see there's an error, and how we can see that error is we can just do GL, and there you go, right? So I think that, you know, for me, virtual text is kind of annoying, and I'd rather just get it that way. So anyway. Other thing would be, too, that I don't think I went over is hover. So if you do Shift-K on anything, you'll get some information about it, right? So something to also keep in mind. You'll just get like a hover doc, right? All right, so let's go back to configuration. Something else would be format on save, which I showed earlier. So we can do that as false, like this. Whoops, just like that. All right, and then we'll open up main.py again, and what'll happen is, so if format on save kind of annoys you or you don't want it, you can see Flake8 is complaining about this. What we're gonna do is we're just gonna save. All right, it doesn't do it. And we'll just do space LF, and it does do it. Another thing is this should work kind of on hot reload. So if you go to configure this, and then you go back in, and then we put this space here again, and we save, it works. And then if we go back out here again, and we set it equal to false, and save this, and then come back in here again, and we save, it doesn't work. So you can kind of do that without leaving or closing your project. If you already have a ton of things open, you just change the configuration, it'll know about it, and then you can just close the configuration, and that's pretty much it, right? So that's, I think, pretty useful, something you should be aware of. You can change your leader key, so if you don't want it to be space, you can set it to whatever you want. That's pretty simple. I think most people will probably stick with space, though. It's just there to let you know. This is how you will set different key mappings. So we have lvim.keys normal mode, and Control-S will be save and enter, right? So if I do Control-S, I'll save the file. That's something that people might be used to from other IDEs or something like that, right? So you can set all different things, right? Like, it's just something to be aware of, right? So whatever, you know, obviously whatever keys you want to set for yourself, you can do that. Let's see. So this is just going over some telescope stuff. I'll talk about telescope as well. Trouble. So let's add some mapping. So you can see that we have this big, like we have all these key maps here, right? And what if you want to add your own? So we installed a plugin earlier, right, called Trouble, and we remember that that gave us a bunch of diagnostics. As a side note, I also recommend LSP installing. I don't know which one is actually active for this. There we go. LSP installing Lua, so that you can have like an LSP for your config, so you can see all this stuff. But remember, we saw earlier that if we introduce a bug and then we do something like trouble toggle, we get this nice quick fix menu here, right, that we can kind of cycle through. So imagine you want to bind that, right, to space something, right? What you can do is you can go over here, and we can uncomment this, and this is just how you'll set it up, right? So like you don't have to uncomment this piece. Like you can just say, you could do this like is A is equal to A or is equal to T, and then these are just a bunch of different mappings for trouble, right? So we'll save that, we'll quit, we'll open it back up, and let's just introduce like a small bug here. All right. And what we'll do is we'll do, I think we put it, under T. So you can see T is now available, T for trouble. We'll do that. And then we'll do D for diagnostics. And there you go. See, so you can have your own mappings, all of your own mappings for your own plugins that you install. All right. I'm sure I'm leaving things out, I'm missing stuff, but you know, I can only get I can only remember so many things that this does, right? So let's go back to the configuration. We went over that. Let's talk a little bit about telescope being built in and fuzzy finding and stuff like that. So what we'll do, let's see. I guess what I'll do is I'll go over some of the built-in LunarVim stuff. I'm going to go over telescope stuff right now. And then maybe how to update it all. So let's do telescope. So you can do space, and then you can see S for search, right? So we're going to do S, and then these are the options we have built in. Obviously, you can add your own, similar to how we're doing trouble here. Here's a mapping right here, actually, for your projects for telescope. But let's see. So we already did color scheme before, but let's do find files. So we'll do F. There's not a ton of files, but if you remember, we created that pyrite.json earlier. We can press enter on that. We found that file here. We can do SF again, and like that's I guess it's all available here. We'll do space ST for to find text, and then we'll just look for like LVim, and you can see that that's all over the place, right, in this file. So that's how you can find some text and jump over to it. Let's see, search for, we got man pages. Key maps is pretty useful. So if like you were wondering what like a particular key map was, like let's say, I don't know, like even leader, and I don't know, we might actually have to, I don't think leader would be it. Maybe it would be space and then like L or something, or space. What did we map earlier? I think it was T or something. Should see something in here for that. Yeah, see all of our trouble commands that we mapped earlier. So they're in here. So if you're looking for a particular mapping, that's probably pretty useful. We'll do space S again. We got commands, checking out a branch for this repository. We went over color schemes. We went over that kind of stuff. Yeah, so I think that's pretty much everything here that's built in. Obviously projects is another one we can add. So if we go like this and we save, and we'll just quit out again, open this back up, and we'll do space. And then we should have one in here called projects now. So we'll do capital P. And now we can jump between different projects. Like I could open up my blog right now. I could open up header.jsx. And then you can see TS servers down here and active. And that works, right? And now the tree has the blog and so on and so forth, right? Okay. So yeah, I think that's pretty much, I mean, that's kind of just like how to install it and just a quick overview of kind of what LunarVim gives you. In the future, I'll be doing more videos about how different plugins work with LunarVim. I'll be doing a video on LunarVim 1.0 when that comes out, which shouldn't really be too much longer from now since everything's pretty stable. And again, if you want to stay with the bleeding edge stuff, if you want to stay with, stay up to date with all of our changes and everything, I just recommend using the rolling branch, and you'll be up to date with everything that we're doing. Once the 1.0 comes out, I actually kind of recommend staying on 1.0, especially if you're using this for work or using it for something else, because once it's there, we're going to be freezing all of the plugins. We're going to be making sure everything's stable, and it'll just be getting stability updates. So a lot won't change, and it should just work, All right, so that's pretty much it for this video. I'm going to go over where you can find me, where you can find the project, and how you can support the project. So where you can find me is over on GitHub. The #1 project I have over here will be LunarVim. You can see that there. You can also check out the LunarVim organization. You can sponsor me here, but you can click on this. All right, and you can see LunarVims right here. And you can keep up with all of the development. You can also, obviously put in a pull request or put in an issue if you have an issue. You can follow me over on my blog. Make that nice and big. You can see a bunch of social media up there. And I'll probably be doing some posts about LunarVim in the future, but mostly you should be spending time. If you want to know anything about LunarVim, check this out over here. Check out the documentation. We're going to be working on that, and make sure that it's all up to date, that this is the place to go for all of the documentation about LunarVim, right? So you can basically, the README doesn't have everything. This should basically have everything. So like how to configure languages, how to install different plugins, like all the different plugins that you can pull in, which is like I said, all of the regular plugins that are available for Neovim are available here. We're going to have a bunch of other stuff here as well as like a comprehensive section on configuration. All right, so let's see. You can also follow me over on Odyssey. All the videos that I have on YouTube are on Odyssey. I would rather you support me over on Odyssey just, for ethical reasons. So, yeah, we're over on Odyssey. You can check me out on Twitter as well. I don't post a whole lot on Twitter, just updates about LunarVim, Linux stuff, every now and then some crypto stuff, whatever. You can support me over on Patreon as well if you would like to. It helps support this project for the most part. It just, kind of keeps me motivated to do the project, I guess. And then also I'll be streaming on Twitch. I kind of am pretty off and on, but I stream on both Twitch and YouTube. So yeah, so that's pretty much it for this video, guys. Make sure to like and subscribe if you like the content, if you're a fan of LunarVim, and I'll see you guys in the next one.